This week, I was speaking to several different companies who all asked the same question. They're middle market. They had questions about, are we doing this the right way when it comes to our data, our usage of that data, and our actions on that data? So we are going to dive into the modern B2B Martech Stack as JJ would see it, and as Vision Labs sees it day to day, week to week, month to month. So what we're going to talk about first is the idea of your CRM and your CDP. So this is something that happens all the time is, do you have a CRM? It sounds really basic, but the question you have to ask yourself is, where does that start and end? So your customer relationship management tool, CRM, where are you stopping to put data in there? So we need to first define what we need to track. And I would like to say and propose that you only have two core things that you need to track. You have to track users and you have to track your product. And your product usage is your users using that product and vice versa. So how do you build these feedback loops, right? If a user does something, you then want to reach out to them and you have messaging, right? That then fuels your product. You then have your product that might have to fuel the messaging to your users. For example, say your product sends out a weekly recap of everything they did, similar to how like Loom or others do that to reach out back to you. How do you do that? So CRM, that is step one, where you want to say, hey, how do we know where our deals are, our pipelines are? The second thing is going to be a CDP. This is a customer data platform where everything is being stored in a unified, standardized schema. There are tools that help with this. So that is what Segment entered the market with. And that is something that they exclusively do. There are rudder stacks. There are a million others, and I'll throw in here PostHog as well, even though that's one of the things that PostHog does, not everything. We are then on the CRM side of things, right? This is where you have the idea of HubSpot, Salesforce, right? We then have the newer ones like the Adios, right? Those are the AI-enabled ones. And then we have the high levels of the world. So I'd say this is higher end, middle end, and then we have the lower end. I'll put Pipedrive here. Again, they're all kind of similar there. We then have these three that are we need functions that we have to decide on is data collection, data storage, and data reporting. This is where I'll put here we have the idea of a Google Analytics. All right, so that is they define the data collection methodology, the data storage, and the data reporting. I'm not a fan of Google Analytics like I once was, so I would like to say let's axe that out. We're going to throw in PostHog here, which would help us with all three. So we'd have the collection part. We're going to use the PostHog standardized method, the storage, and then the reporting also there. So I'm going to put these like this is my recommendation. We would use that for PostHog. We would use some type of BigQuery we like to use GCP. Where you have BigQuery, Google Cloud Platform, or if you're smaller, on the smaller end, you're going to just use PostHog's native integration. It's nice that it's all in one. Then it comes to reporting. Okay, so this is where you're going to either have something that's out of the box. There's like the idea of something like a hex, right? We then also have PostHog out of the box. We also have the idea of like a Looker Studio, Power BI, or there's a DIY method, right? Where you could say, hey, I'm going to do this myself. So these are the things that I've seen in general. I'm a bigger fan of these three. Either keep it in the tool you're using, use an off-the-shelf platform like a Looker Studio, or go a DIY route on your own. We actually have something in-house that we call the Vision Labs Reporting Suite, which is something that is a DIY Looker Studio Power BI kind of alternative where we can use this to iterate faster with clients on the actual reporting side. So it can go to either one of these storage facilities. Okay, so we've covered in the idea of a CRM, right? So we have, hey, how are we handling these relationships? We have a CDP, what is centralizing and normalizing data over multiple different platforms. We then have to have some sort of data collection, storage, and reporting. We have decided on using a PostHog there. We could use a PostHog and a BigQuery along those lines, and then we have reporting there. Again, there are other options for this. I just think that the nimbleness, speed, and cost are hard to beat when it comes to these at the mid-market, even enterprise, and the small end, right? Super enterprise, you're going to go custom all the way down, right? So that's like the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000s, but that will start there. We then have to say what's going to control the marketing messaging and the product messaging. And so here is where you have to start to make decisions, right? So I'm a big fan of you have your CRM, that is doing both of these, right? So this is just a personal preference, but you can also have your product messaging come from other places. So if you just use, for example, like a resend to send notifications and things, that is very common. But you really want to make sure you have a centralized location where you can say, are these working or are they not working? Next, you have the idea of sales, right? So how do you track sales? And this is going to be where I'm going to say, hey, usually most CRMs we're going to have on some sort of sales suite. The problem there is, are you going to use a centralized booking platform or a different type of booking platform? So here, for example, we could say there are alternatives. For example, there's the HubSpot versus Calendly. Those both have booking platforms. You could use both, okay? And then the last thing down here we need to consider is how are we sending data to our ad platforms? This is like a signal idea. So we're gonna have our Meta, our Googles, and other like LinkedIn's here, okay? I'm a big fan of like using a CDP on this, PostHog, a segment, Rudder Stack, you name it. They're all in the mix, but you want to use one of those things to send that data to give your signal onwards. Hey there, quick interruption. If you have any interest at all at having something like this done for you, our team walking through every step of the way, making sure your questions get answered and decisions get made better than ever before, go to visionlabs.com/contact, fill out a contact form, talk with one of our team members. Hey, it might even be me. I take some of the sales calls behind the scenes. And so feel free to go there and fill it out contact form at visionlabs.com/contact. So how are we going to link these all together? And I'm going to diagram this now together so we could say, hey, what would JJ do if he were building a software from scratch today in the B2B space? Okay, CRM, we're going to go with a GHL, right? So go high level. I think that's a mid to small business. You could go there. We'd then go from there to a HubSpot. All right, so it started there, move up to HubSpot. Then we're going to have the idea of a CDP. I'm going to go PostHog. PostHog is going to serve us well. There are some things that are not super customizable or just there's nuances there. CDP there. We are then going to send those from the Meta. I'll just put Meta and Google, but you get the idea. Meta, Google, LinkedIn, right? So that is going to be sent from your CDP directly to those destinations. So we're going to put up here, we're going to also have our website, right? So these two things, website, CRM, website, I don't really care. You can use whatever you'd like to. It really doesn't matter that much anymore. Used to be a WordPress for life, and now here we are, folks. So we now have the idea, CRM, go high level or HubSpot, depending on what size we're going to be at, what kind of functions that we need. We then are going to have our actual product, right? All right, so then we're going to actually have our actual product here. So here is our product. we're going to also put that in here. So I'll put that in on this side. And then our product messaging is going to be the question here is where should this be sent from? You have kind of two options here when it comes to product messaging. You could say, hey, we're going to do product messaging. We're going to sync our product data using our CDP back to our CRM. And then the CRM is going to send that out here. Boom. Or, that's option one. Or we go full on CDP where the CDP is sending that data via product message. I'm a bigger fan of doing the CRM route of where you sync different product usages to the actual product messaging, but it all comes from one place as much as we possibly can, where only transactional messages come from the product itself. That's a general recommendation. Okay, so then how are we going to build this from the reporting side of things? So then we have the idea of BigQuery. So if it's me, what I'm going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to sync Google and Meta. Once they have executed their ad spend, they've gotten the signal there. We're going to drop both of those into BigQuery as a data warehouse. Okay, so we're going to sync that in. We are also going to sync this in via our CRM, our CDP right here. So we're going to also sync that up into here as well. So we're going full on data lake on this side of things. We are then going to then pull in our reporting. So we're going to put reporting over here, right? And I'm going to go on using our own internal tooling. So if you want to become a customer of Vision Labs, where we then connect our reporting to there. We also can do some PostHog APIs. So they now have their new endpoints. Pretty cool. So you can have your reporting connected right into the PostHog reporting endpoints there. So it's pretty cool to do that. So then we'd have all of our reporting in here where we'd say, hey, everything is synced up to BigQuery or directly from PostHog. We could also then send that in from our financial data. So we're going to have, say, hey, we've got our Stripe over here, which is going to be where we have maybe revenue. Let's just put Stripe. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to put Stripe. We'll have that in the idea of our CDP as well. And then we're going to put that into the BigQuery also. And then, again, reporting goes in from there. So that would be my core recommendation. So let me just run through this from a sake of example, right? So our CRM is going to be there, our CDP, our data collection, storage, and reporting. Our marketing messaging will come from the CRM, the product messaging there, sales, and then signals for ads. So that is going to all be through there. So again, this is just a general recommendation. I'd say we do this and manage this for companies large and small across the board. So I'm very confident in this to work. Again, we've seen it all over the board. The big thing you're gonna have to defend on this is the idea that everything can do everything. So there's this consolidation of thing where HubSpot's going to try and pull your reporting. PostHog's going to want that. Your product is going to also want that. All these people are going to have different requirements for what they think needs to be reported on. And that's why like teams work with us over here, because we can serve as this interstitial layer that then allows everybody to look at one place. And so when you come down to it, you have this reporting layer right here. And this reporting layer is super important because now you have your product, you now have marketing, you also have sales, right? And they are all looking at the same thing. So everybody is unified into what is good, what is bad, where are our targets, where are decisions being made. You also have the concept, if you have a larger organization, of C-suite and managers, and then also practitioners. So these three are different levels that you might have to build reporting on. So the practitioners down below, you're gonna have the most of these. You're then gonna have the managers that are in the middle. So maybe they have the roll-up reports and things like that. We then have the C-suite at the top. So we're gonna have each a product, marketing, and sales as a C-suite as well. So these are just things to think about when you're building out reporting, is you're gonna have different types of reporting for different types of people. And they might be all one person wearing different hats. It does not matter, but just keep that in mind. So here is our overarching, really quick and dirty, what the general recommendation is. How do you handle that? Where does it go? That way you know where you're starting, where you're going, and you don't start throwing in tools that are not needed, right? You have this Martech Stack that is built with a CDP at the center. You have website data, you have CRM data flowing in, and then you can say, hey, everything is in one location, and you build out one report from one place that allows you to answer the questions accurately, quickly, and efficiently. So if that sounds like something you want to do, reach us out, visionlabs.com/contact. This is what we do. This is how we do it. And I'm not going to pull any punches to tell you something else.